South Africa. I'm currently on a mission at the World Forestry Congress in Seoul, South Korea. So what we do, we also do beekeeping and we sell bee equipment and also give the courses on beekeeping as well as do consultancy in case you need to remove the bees from your property or you need to transport them. We offer such services as well. So thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Teko, and looking forward to hear your business model and how that one is faring on. Amanda, perhaps you may want to introduce the rest.
Yes, so I'd like to take this opportunity to introduce you to Brighton, who is representing one of the founding members of Kalahari Honey. And they were a part of the 2018 Land Accelerator and also have become a part, everybody who can, please mute yourself. They've also become a part of the Africa Eats Consortium, which is an investment holding company that is founded by our partner Luni Libes, who's, as you know, one of our main partners at the Land Accelerator as well. So Brighton's company has benefited from investment through the Land Accelerator network, and we actually hope that that will happen for more and more entrepreneurs as we go forward. Brighton, would you like to tell us about a little bit about the honey you're doing and the people you're collecting from, and just some of the main statistics, maybe some of your best-selling or most unique products these days?
Thank you so much, Catherine. Thank you so much, everybody. My name is Brighton Chabana from Kalahari Honey from Botswana. Formerly known as Chabana Farms, formed in 2011. Diversified into honey business in 2019. We are honey aggregators in Botswana. We specialize in natural raw honey. We are the first honey aggregator in Botswana. Thank you.
And thank you so much. And I also see another fellow Africa Eats member here representing with his hat today, Sadiq Abin Abdullahi, who is joining us from Ghana today on behalf of Tila. Maybe you could tell us a little bit about your honey business, what kind of honey and what kind of trees you're growing in Ghana, and we'll get into more details later. Thanks, Sadiq.
Thank you very much, Amanda. I'm Sadiq Abdullahi. I'm the CEO and co-founder of Tila Company, a registered social impact company based in the northern part of Ghana, where we integrate beekeeping and cashew plantation for the production of honey and other bee products. And we do this with a network of women outgrowers who we train on the best practices of integrated beekeeping and cashew plantation, land management, climate mitigation, and adaptation, when we distribute innovative, environmental friendly concrete beehives to them. Then we buy the product from them and distribute to the markets. Thank you.
And thank you so much. So let me see. Yes, great suggestion from Deo Gracias. If each one of the panelists can write down your organizations and your names into the chat box. And if you've got a website, feel free to do that. Take your time and do that. And maybe your country so that people can see that. That would be fantastic. As we're doing that, I'm pulling up our list of questions to see which one we might have been asking first. I'm sorry, I'm multitasking here. Which question? Oh, why don't we start with the history of your businesses? So something that people might want to know here is, how did you discover honey as a business? And how did you get into honey and why? And I think you can take, people can answer that question in as many ways as they want to, but maybe with the idea here is there are a lot of people on this call, many of them might have honey businesses, but many of them might be thinking, is honey something I can integrate into my community? So maybe if you could talk with that in mind, you could tell us about your journey, about how you arrived to honey. I might want to start with Teiko on that one. Teiko, would you like to tell us a little bit about your origin story?
Okay, thank you very much. Growing up, I grew up on a farm in the Free State along the border of Lesotho and South Africa. And the farmer that we lived in always had orchards and bees. So I grew up liking chasing around the bees and looking out as to how they go about. So it then happened that in 2019, I decided to formally start the company. And when I started, I was alone, and it was some sort of a joke over the weekend. I say, I'm kind of bored. I wanted to see what to farm that will make me a digital farmer, because I travel a lot. So then I thought, okay, bees were always something that I was curious about, and that I know they will not require any water or any food over the time that I'm away. So it would be much better to start on the bees. So I think that weekend I started by selling 6 kgs of honey. It sold right away on that afternoon. I posted on Facebook, and then people started flooding me with the requests that they wanted more. So by the following day on a Sunday, I sold 30 kg. And then the following day on a Monday, that's when one of the stores, grocery stores in KwaZulu-Natal, asked me if I can provide them with 50 bottles. So that's how I started seeing that there was a market for that. But then had to actually bring in a partner that could work with me, so that while I'm away, he could fulfill the orders and do some of the stuff. So moving along, you would find out that people need the equipment, but they are far away from Gauteng province, and I'm able to go and buy them whatever that they will need. And then I'll just put I used to just put a 20% markup and give it to them. And then from there on, they say, well, we think you should be the one providing, so that we give instead of you having to go there and collect, you just have your own stock that you provided to us. And the ones that are always terrified with bees, they will just say, well, can you bring a box to my house, or how much are you going to charge me for getting the bees away from me? So basically, that's how then we get started. And COVID came in 2020. So it really also amplified the business, because that's when we started making more money in terms of the profits. And then we grew a little from there. And it has helped us to be where we are till today. And funny enough, I think it was in March, we took a journey to venture in. We drove all the way from Pretoria, South Africa to Livingston, and went by the Francistown to visit Kalahari Honey. So we came back very inspired. And today at the World Forestry Congress, I found someone who's doing even beehives with plastic, some sort of a plastic mold, which I'm still yet to read more about, because I just went to the exhibitions today. I had too many speaking events. And ever since then, I think the love for beekeeping and honey has been ongoing. So I enjoy doing it. I think it detoxes much more than this traveling jobs and stuff. And anytime, even when I get an order when I'm away, it's always exciting to see that people do have interest in what one does. Thank you.
So yeah, so you discovered bees from like childhood and then started doing it as, you know, a small hobby yourself and realized you needed more partners. There was such a demand, and you've even expanded into new services like helping people control where the bees are or move the bees away from their house. People don't want to just kill bees and, you know, bring pesticides and kill the bees that are on their property, but have recognized that they want to move them to maybe a better place where bees can still live their life and do their pollination, but not scare us or be in our ways. And they get scared of us and can sometimes maybe sting us if they get scared. So moving them away from maybe the entrance way of your house is a service that you're able to provide. Is that correct?
Yes, and I've also, the education part of it is also strong because you have to teach a lot of people about the myths that they have about bees. So some are normally terrified about them, and they have these myths that, okay, when it's raining or at night, you should do this and do this to them. And you tell them, no, you'll still get stung even if it's at night. Don't do that. This is how the approach to go by it. I'll come and remove them for you, or this is how you should do about putting up a box and attracting the swarm into the box if you are interested in keeping them in your property, because the municipal rates allow up to 5 boxes for consumption, at least in South Africa, in the city of Johannesburg and Pretoria, whereby I reside. Thank you.
I think that's really interesting and cool that they even have some regulations around beekeeping. I think even here in DC, it's not very regulated, and you want to have a box, that's up to you. So that's really neat that they have some regulations around that. I wondered if maybe we could hear from Catherine about how she got into beekeeping and her origin story. I don't know, just what captivated you about honey, and maybe a little glimpse into how it's going now.
Sure, yeah. I'm originally from Texas, and I always ate local honey. And when I started to learn and understand where honey came from, I just developed a really big passion to learn about bees and honey production. And then in 2014, I joined the Peace Corps and was placed in Zambia. I didn't know anything about Zambia or beekeeping in Zambia, but got to learn, be exposed to how traditional beekeeping works here, which is a beautiful practice that has been going on for centuries. But with this growing demand for honey, it's the production methods are just not sustainable anymore. So after seeing how farmers produce honey here, how it hurts the local forest, and in the harvesting also hurts the bees, that was a big motivating factor to start our own honey company and make sure that the production methods are not only sustainable, but also help protect the bees as well, and therefore create a better quality honey, and farmers can get paid more. So that's a very short version of from 2014 being in Peace Corps, and then actually working with another honey company here in Zambia for 1 year. And that was, again, another motivating factor to want to start our own company and make sure farmers got a much better benefit for producing in a sustainable way. So we started Nature's Nectar in 2018 with 200 farmers and 2,000 beehives. And now we have a network of over 20,000 beehives, more than 2,000 farmers. We have different conservation partners that we work with across Zambia. And our aim is to reach at least 50,000 hives with 5,000 farmers, and protect at least 50,000 hectares of local forest. So that's our story.
I think that sounds great. And I'm already starting to see some trends here for people who are starting to get into the honey business themselves. The trend of the need for education, educating people about myths of bees, and maybe just opening people's eyes to different ways of doing things. But at the same time, if you do, like in your case, Catherine, if you harvest honey a different way, or if you use a different kind of box or a different kind of harvesting technique, you will actually get more benefit out of it. So kind of showing, learning, doing all at the same time to improve the honey quality, but also improving your partners, your farm, your providers, your smallholder farmers, improving their income as well. So that's something that I hear as a commonality so far between Teiko and you, is the need for education. I wonder if, I think this is a pretty kind of a basic question as well, the same one, just to hear a little bit of your origin stories. I wonder if Sadiq might want to share, and then Brighton.
Thank you so much. Yes, as I explained in my earlier intro, Tila is a social impact company. So in the first place, the company was formed based on a social problem that we have identified in the northern part of Ghana. Because in the northern part of Ghana, it used to be the food basket of Ghana, until recently, where we realized that there was a sudden decline of general agricultural productivity in the northern part of Ghana. So together with my co-founder, we decided to conduct a research to find out the sudden decline of general agricultural productivity in the northern part of Ghana. And from our research, we realized that there were certain activities which were going on in the region, which resulted to the sudden decline of general agricultural productivity in that part of the country. One of them was that the people in the area are engaged in bush burning for bushmeat. And as a result of that, they emit carbon into the atmosphere. They also destroy the vegetative cover, leading to the destruction of general soil productivity. We also realized that the people in the area are cutting down trees for charcoal. That serve as carbon sinks and last defense against desertification. Lastly, the people there, their animals are overgrazing their land. So this was a social problem that we have identified. And these people are engaged in these activities simply because there was high rate of unemployment among women in the area.
Oh, I think that Sadiq might have gotten frozen, but we've definitely been hearing some, and I'm sure he'll jump back in at any time. We've been hearing some interesting concepts there, which is, you know, the general recognition that there was a decline in productivity on the land, and wanting to know why, and caring about the health of their communities, the health of their farmers, and how they're able to survive or provide for their families, was leading them to look at the root problems of deforestation. Oh, I'm sure Sadiq will be back. Deforestation, overgrazing, and he eventually, I think, is getting to the role that bees play in pollination in creating more productivity on their trees. So in his case, he's planting cashew trees, and cashew trees productivity is affected very greatly by having bees to pollinate or not. And there's so many different kinds of crops. Some of them rely on wind pollination, but a lot of crops rely heavily on bee pollination. So the importance of beekeeping in agricultural activities can be really important depending on where you are. And he's found a great kind of synergy between cashew trees and bees in Ghana. So we'll hear more from him. I'm sure he'll get back to us. And you can see here the different angles that people are taking on bees. And I'm seeing in the chat box people saying, I'm planting plenty of trees, I want to get into bees. So we're going to be asking that question later today.
Hello, Amanda.
Yes, Sadiq.
Hello, Amanda.
Yes.
I have joined. Yes.
Oh, right. I was just summarizing some of the things that you were saying. And oh, thank you. Oh, guys, I just got bad luck. I have COVID. I found out I have COVID right now. So I was handed a mask and here we go. Sorry, I'm at my dad's house and it's probably the worst time to get COVID. Sorry guys, personal. Sadiq, sorry. We'll ask you, I think I'll make you a panelist again. And we were talking about your research and perhaps your research into why your farming was in your land was not the breadbasket anymore. And you were saying about the deforestation and the overgrazing. So I don't know if you would like to pick up where you left off.
Yeah, so as a result of this, the people, because there was no job opportunities for the people, they are engaged in these activities. So in order to solve the problem of unemployment in the area, we have to network with women outgrowers, where we train the women on the best practices of integrated beekeeping and cashew plantation, land management, climate mitigation and adaptation. Then we distribute innovative, environmental friendly concrete beehives to them, because we have moved away from wooden hives to concrete hives. Because remember, we are trying to solve, because our mission is sustainable rural jobs creation, conservation of ecosystem, and reclamation of degraded lands through integrated beekeeping and cashew plantation. So much as we continue to use wooden hives to distribute to the outgrowers, it means that we are equally contributing to the afforestation. So in order to stop this, we have to innovate an environmental friendly concrete beehives. So this is the concrete beehive that we distribute to them. And the concrete beehive, it has a lot of advantages over the wooden hives. One, the concrete beehive, it has a longer lifespan. Two, the quantity of honey produced from concrete beehive is much higher and of better quality than that of wooden hives, simply because as the wooden hive becomes older, when you are harvesting the honey, you will find some debris of the wooden hives in the honey, and that may compromise the quality. But if you are using the concrete beehive, you don't have that issue of debris falling into the honey. And then the third aspect is that because in our part of the world, the people are engaged in bush burning. If you are using wooden hives, the likelihood of the wooden hive getting burnt by angry bushfire is high. But if you are using the concrete beehive, the concrete beehive has the tendency of protecting itself from angry bushfires. So this is the concrete beehive that we use. So that was the reason behind our social aspect. But in terms of consumers' pain, in Ghana, demand for honey is high for both domestic and industrial uses. And because of that, Ghanaians or Ghana industrial aspect, they import more honey from China to the country for pharmaceutical industries and cosmetic industries. So because of this, because of the issue of import levy and what have you, the final product become higher, the price become higher. So in order to solve that problem, we have to bring in this honey to solve that very problem. And the issue that we are facing over here, or the reason why we have integrated cashew into the honey production, is that one, cashew bear flowers during dry season. And remember, beekeeping survives under two conditions. One, availability of water. Two, constant availability of nectar. These are the two main factors that drive beekeeping. But in our part, during dry season, almost all the trees in the area, they shade their leaves. So the bees have no access to nectar. But cashew has the tendency of giving nectar during dry season. So that's why we have integrated cashew into the beekeeping, so that the bees could have constant source of nectar. At the same time, the cashew can also be a source of revenue for the company. So in a nutshell, this is the background of Tila company. Thank you.
And I think that we started to get into even a lot of the technology there, the types of beehives and why. So we'll we want to pull that back out a little bit more later today, but we started to hear some discussions basically from both Catherine and Sadiq, in that the technology that people use to collect the honey can actually make a big difference. So not using, let's say, a log. I think those can be some of the more popular or traditional honey hives, ones made out of just empty logs, but looking about how to make honey, I guess, hives that are going to be more productive, easier to harvest from, and perhaps cleaner as well. And yes, we see that folks were asking for photos. So if you go to Tila's website, which Samuel just put in the chat box, you can check out a lot of pictures there. And I think the same thing would go for Catherine also has a website. And if anybody has photos and you feel free to pull up some links to your photos, you can let us know by putting them in the chat box, and we'll announce that so people can take a look later on as well. And last of our panelists to give their origin story today is Brighton. Brighton, would you tell us about Kalahari honey and how, how you guys came to it, and if you made pivots along the way, and what Kalahari honey has meant for the communities you work in?
Thank you so much. Like I said earlier before, we started in 2011 as Chabana Farms. Chabana Farms started as a poultry farm whereby we were producing broilers and layers, eggs, and the only thing that we kept on stumbling on was a high cost of feeds. So we wanted to come up with solutions in terms of how can we, because we were not making money. Basically, we were just producing, but not making any money. So we wanted to make, diversify and find out the means of making, producing broilers and layers in a cheaper way. We went into feeds, and then we also find that the cost of importing maize meal and fish meals and all the ingredients that are needed for the feeds, it's also high. So we kept on changing and looking for some other businesses until 2019, whereby, earlier we met Looney Lives. That's when we started exchanging ideas in terms of making animal feeds as a business. But he would say, no, that business is not viable. And we kept on trying something, exchanging ideas with him until we get into honey business, whereby when we came up with the honey idea and say, okay, I think this is something that you guys can venture on. So that's when we started Kalahari Honey in 2019. It started as it's a social enterprise whereby we teach youth, women, and disadvantaged people about honey, because that's the only maybe source of income that they can venture into. Because as I said before, we are the first honey aggregator in Botswana. And for now, and we are now seeing the results. We also remember Botswana is one of the countries with a high population of elephants. So we came up with the idea of trying to build live fences in order to deter elephants into destroying the field crops, so that we can also benefit in terms of yielding the food. So we are now in a program whereby we are trying to build live fences around the fields, at the same time harvesting honey, at the same time creating jobs for women and disadvantaged villagers. we also have partnered with Elephants Without Borders in Kasane, where we are building a demo farm where we will teach the youth and the women and whoever who wants to know about bees, so that we can eradicate this myth that is surrounded around the bees and teach people how important it is to keep bees. I think that's how we ended up being in this honey business.
Yes. So again, let me see. You had started off starting a family business around something in agriculture. In your case, it was poultry and eggs, and the input costs were, expensive. The logistics were expensive. It just wasn't working out, and you kept trying different approaches and talking to different people. And you talked to Looney, and I think maybe in your conversations you thought about honey through talking with Looney. Was that correct?
Yes.
Perfect. And I do know that one of his favorite companies to see in Africa it has to do with honey. He finds it to be very, very profitable and something that can really work. So you definitely see 2 honey companies here that his organization Africa Eats has already invested in. So I think this is a great pointer for folks who've been wanting to get into honey to do so today. Samuel, do you have an idea for the next round of questions? I thought it might be about maybe if people are wanting to get into honey, what would they want to consider? But do you think that's a nice question? And maybe you want to ask any versions of that you wanted.
Yeah, thanks, Amanda. Absolutely. And thanks so much to the panelists for the great presentation. Maybe somebody is seated and asking, is honey business profitable? Is there money in it? I know, Teko, you had alluded that you started with a few bottles, the demand kept on growing. Is there money? That's the question. Is there money in honey business? Anybody feel free to jump in. Catherine, I know you have to leave at some point. Maybe you may want to tackle this.
Let me jump in.
Sure, Brighton.
Yes, there's money in honey business. The only thing that we need to do as honey business people or entrepreneurs, for us to get the value of our honey, we need to educate our consumers, because as we produce a natural honey, which is beneficial compared to the other honey, irradiated honey and others. So we need to teach our customers the value of our honey, because natural honey has antioxidants, a lot of things compared to irradiated honey. So as long as we don't teach our customers, we won't make money. But if customers knows the value of natural honey, of which where I am, honey business has money. And I think it has even more money if you export to international markets where people understand the value of natural honey. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks. Yes, Teko.
Yes, I would like to add to that. Yes, what Brighton is talking about is true. The moment you start, if you are a consumer, you should strive for raw honey. And the moment you start seeing something on the label, some of the indicators that will be the giveaways are the honey that's not written which country it's from. And then there is something called C3 and C4 sugar. So if you see the C4 sugar or glucose or sucrose written on a package, just know that that honey is adulterated honey. It's not even honey, it's syrup mixed with sugar. I know it's now getting harder and harder how to test the raw honey, but the simple one is to take a teaspoon of it and put it in cold water. If it mixes with water, then it's, you know that it's syrup and sugar. But if it doesn't mix with syrup and If it doesn't mix with water, then you know that it's raw honey. So it's critical. Yes, there might be some countries that they test their honey. I know for the side of South Africa, it's very difficult and very expensive. We either have to take it to Germany or the US to test it, and it's at a high cost. I recently went to one of the biggest commercial exposition, and they wanted the certificate of acceptance and where the honey was tested. It was a nightmare. I was able to get the certificate of acceptance, but as to whether the honey was tested, it was really much more expensive than even the exhibition booth that I was using. So yes, it makes money, but it will also take money for you to prove that it's raw honey if you want to enter international market or the grocery stores and stuff. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks so much, Teko. Yeah, so
Hello.
we're in agreement that there is money in
Hello.
honey. I'm coming back to you, Sadiq. Yeah, so we're in agreement that indeed there is money in honey business. But maybe Sadiq, as you jump in, you may want to share, where do we start, assuming you want to start honey business? As a person, where do I start? And then maybe you could talk about the aspect of ecological, environmental condition, to which areas really support beekeeping. And I know you had alluded that when you're talking about the cashew nuts. Yeah, and also talk about maybe something around certification, like Teko was alluding to. Yeah, Sadiq.
Yes, thank you so much. In setting up a bee farm, there are two issues that you should take into consideration. One, there should be a constant source of water. Constant source of water. That's one point that you should consider. Two, there should be constant supply of nectar. So because it's the nectar that the bees use to process the honey. So if you have these two conditions in place, it means that you are set to go. So these are the two conditions that you always consider when you are setting up a bee apiary. But with the issue of the water, when we were
Sorry, I'm losing you, Sadiq.
we
Sorry, Sadiq, I don't know whether it's only me. Maybe you may want to switch off your video.
Or bee apiary, we didn't in over there. What I'm saying is when we were starting. Hello.
Hello, Sadiq.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Hello.
Now we can hear you.
Hello.
Yes.
Yes.
Go ahead.
Yes, I can hear you. Yeah. Yes. Yeah. When we were setting up our bee farm, where we have the farm, we didn't have any source of water there. We didn't have dam or even a well. So what we did was that we did some innovation. We provided some containers where we put in water there, then we drop stones in the container, because when you leave the container open, the bees will drown in the water. So you have to put stones in the container where the bees can settle on the stones and they will take the water. So these are the two issues that you consider whenever you are setting up a bee farm. With the issue of whether honey business is lucrative or not, to me, honey business is very, very lucrative. But at the initial stage, it needs a high level of capital injection. Because as my brother from South Africa explained, there are certain requirements that you have to meet. One, you have to meet regulatory requirements. In Ghana, before your product will be accepted in supermarket or grocery shops, you have to have some certifications. That is Food and Drugs Authority certification. They have to test your product to make sure that, hello? Yes. Yes, your product have to be satisfied. Hello?
Yes, proceed.
Yes. You have to meet some regulatory requirements. That is, you meet food. Hello?
Sadiq, just keep talking. There's a delay. I'm going to remove her.
Yes, you have to meet Food and Drugs Authority certification. You have to meet Standard Authority certification. With the Food and Drugs Authority certification, that will allow you that to be sold in the local market. But with the Standard Authority certification, that will allow you to export your product outside Ghana. So these are the two certifications that you have to meet. But with the issue of testing whether the product is of high quality or not, over here locally we use a local method of testing whether a honey product is genuine or not. What we used first was that you use a match, what we use to light fire. You drop the head of the match in the honey, then you strike it. If it lights, it means that the honey is of pure quality. Alternatively, you could get a ripe tomatoes. Then you drop the tomatoes in the honey. Then you remove the tomatoes from the honey. If the honey is adulterated, you will see some impurities around the ripe honey. But if it is not adulterated, all the honey around the ripe tomato will drop back into the container. So these are the two methods that we use to test it until we got our product certified by these two main regulatory authorities in Ghana. Thank you.
Thanks. Thank you so much, Sadiq. Yeah, very good insights, helping us even as consumers. I'm going to try that when I get home. Yeah. There's a question.
I think maybe before we go to the next question, because I do see we're at just 10 minutes left, I want to remind everybody about the, we have this right now on Mighty Networks underneath the peer groups. So if you guys sign into Mighty Networks, again, look underneath cohorts, and you'll see one for our Tuesday sessions and one for peer groups. And in peer groups, we have discussion groups around honey. And so you can put a lot of your different questions or outreach there. So we do want to direct you to that. So I'll put some more links in the chat box later, but just wanted to remind you, this is just to get the story started. We're learning here, just the tip of the iceberg, what are important considerations for a bee business. We heard you need to have nectar available and you need to have water. And that's an important insight. And I mean, you could even go into that more, like, what do you mean water? Can I just put a bucket of water and change it every day next to my beehive? Maybe I can. Or do you need to have like consistent rains? Do you need to have a stream nearby? So these are all sorts of questions that could come up. And we would really love to have you guys have a discussion group within the Mighty Network. So again, I'll put some links, direct links to that in the chat box in a second. Now we might want to give this back to Samuel to continue moderating this question. Thanks.
Yeah, thanks. Thanks so much, Amanda. Yeah, still in terms of the ecological condition within which bees strive, I'm just wondering, I know there is somebody who is operating in ASO areas and it becomes very hot. So do they work in hot areas, cold areas? Maybe you can take a few minutes to explain that. But there's a good question from one of the participants in terms of what are the challenges that you face in this business? Anybody, maybe Teko, Brighton, Sadiq, feel free to jump in.
Hello. Yeah, thank you so much. Yeah, there are so many challenges that we face in the business aspect. One, excessive use of agrochemicals by farmers is a threat to bee farming because bees are so sensitive. So if you are working in a particular area where people are constantly using agrochemicals, if you are not able to educate them as to the timing or the time that they should apply the agrochemicals, it can kill the whole of your farm, your bees. It can kill the whole of the bees. Because normally what bees or what bee does is that they have some people among them, that they are male bees. In the morning, the male bees will be tasked to go out and survey the environment to see whether the environment is safe for them. So if they go out and they come back and inform them that, oh, the place is safe, for that matter, in the evening, they will go out and take the nectar, come back and process the honey. So if after surveying the area and they realize that the place is safe, within the next hour, the farmer comes and apply the agrochemicals. When they come back, when they are coming in the evening, they are coming out in number. They are coming out in numbers. And immediately they get in there, they will begin to suck the nectar. And that may kill all of them. So if you are applying the agrochemicals, you should educate the farmers the time that they are supposed to apply the chemicals. They should apply it early in the morning. So when the male bees come out and they survey and they realize that the place is not safe, they will go and inform them that the place is not safe. So for that matter, in the evening, when they are coming out, they will not even make an attempt to take a nectar from that area. So excessive use of agrochemical is very dangerous for the business. Secondly, bush burning. Bush burning too is also another hazard that is affecting the business. And then third aspect of it is, excuse me to use this, influx of adulterated honey from China. Chinese honey is all over the world, especially in Africa. And the problem we beekeepers face in Africa is that honey from China, the bottles are nicely, or the products are nicely packaged. So when you see their product, very, very, very attractive, but inside what you have in there as honey, or what you have in there as supposedly honey, is not a natural honey. But in Africa, the challenge we face is that because we are financially handicapped, we cannot package our product to compete with that of Chinese products. And their products come with very, very cheap prices. So because of this, it's become very, very difficult for us to compete with them just because of their package. So these are some of the challenges that we face in the industry.
Yeah, thanks, Sadiq. Maybe Jacob, Brighton, briefly. I see we only have 5 minutes left.
Okay, let me briefly say something. Not touching to what Sadiq has already said. The other challenge that as farmers we face, I think, is vandalism of boxes, people trying to, honey. Normally people in the villages, we get honey in the wild. Some is in the, we dig, or they are in the trees. But once you put them in a box, people just see the easier way of getting honey. And we face a challenge of vandalism. I think we even exchange ideas with Mr. Ndlapo, how I make my boxes. We have to build a cage for them and lock it. Just to, it's a matter of making it not easy to easily access the honey. So those are some of the challenges that we have. Like Sadiq said, we also have competition. Make sure that your packaging is up to par so that you can penetrate the market easily. Thank you.
Thanks. Thanks. Jacob?
I think they've alluded pretty much to all. I believe living in South Africa, where there are a lot of commercial farmers, and you put your boxes there, if you do not build a relationship with them to say, I want to know about the pesticides that you're going to use and when you're going to use them, it does become really a problem. And then the competition, like Sadiq, in fact, I mean, I took twice our honey was in a grocery retail store. But since then we have pulled it because it was just not worth it. They were making more money than they were the trader price that they buy with, and then the retail price that they ended up selling with was a bit of an insult on our end. Although we're gonna go back, we are now working with one of the e-commerce site because it becomes difficult, especially when my partner is, none of us are 100% working in the venture. I work for the African Union and travel a lot, and then he also has his own work at home. So we are not able to fill the orders sometimes on time. So it's critical. One of the challenges will be if you do not have trained people. You have to have a trained partner with you, because when it comes to working, yes, it might be nice to do the selling of honey, but farming bees requires so much. The heavy lifting costs, we use the Langstroth boxes, and they require someone that can do like lift heavy. And it has to be people that are not scared or terrified of bees. You know, it went to whereby everyone in my family had to be, I literally had to have a bee stung them to check if they are not allergic. Because when you work with bees, when either the boxes are in the garage and stuff, you will attract a swarm one way or the other before you transport the boxes. So if you are scared of them, it will be a problem, and it will come at a hefty price for you to then pay someone to come and do the job that you're supposed to be knowing how to do. So training on beekeeping is also pivotal. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks. Thanks so much. I see time is not on our side. Very good insights. I wish we can continue this on the Mighty Network. Personally, I'll be there. Back to you, Amanda.
Back here. So yeah, we are at time officially, but again, the best place to continue the conversation and all the questions, and we're going to invite our panelists to join there as well, is at these two links. So one of the links, the first link I just put in there, is if you are not yet a part of our Mighty Network's peer group discussions online. So you can use that first link to join the Mighty Network group. If you are already a member, I have the direct link to where you can find our honey discussion group for a lot of questions. And if our panelists can stay on for 5 more minutes, that would be really great. I did see some quick questions that we can have that are really quick. That maybe even I can answer just because I know the answer. Somebody says, do you have different flavors of honey? How can you do different flavors of honey? And the answer is yes, you can. You just have to find out where the different fruits or tree crops are growing, or even flowers, and you put the bee boxes there, and you keep that honey separate from all the other honey that you might be collecting somewhere else. So somebody said, can you have mango honey? And the answer is yes. So our friend Sadiq has cashew honey, and I think they actually can test the honey after it's been produced to see what percentage of it is a flavor. Does anybody on our panel have an additional note to add on that? Yeah. And let me see, were there any other questions that you think we could answer quickly? Did anybody see any others? I'm just going to scroll through. Coconut honey. Someone wants some coconut honey. That sounds delicious to me. Can you do beehives in bamboo plantations? Does anybody here know that answer? Anybody have experience? I think that's got to be a Google one for you. You can Google that one. If you want to know about the concrete beehive, I might suggest that you reach out to Sadiq. And at this time, maybe if anybody is open to people reaching out of our panelists, you could put your names and emails there, and everybody who's here could take note of that. So if you're available to answer questions specific questions via email, perhaps put your name and your email address in the chat for us now, Brighton, Teko, and Sadiq. And then so we just invite you to do that. And let me see if there was another point. I don't know if there's another point. That could be wrapping it up right now. This is our first time having this kind of session, particularly with our alumni. So we want to thank them. And I see Teko has put his name in there. Oh yeah, my other point was I did see somebody who was doing honey in Ghana. I think it was Ghana. And so if anybody's doing honey in any of these countries of our panelists, you definitely want to get in touch with them and see, just learn from them, discuss the business market, discuss if there's anything you can. So this is all about networking and finding each other and finding answers. That's what we have to say right now. And we want to thank our panelists. And I like to leave the closing remarks to Samuel. So Samuel, back to you.
Yeah, thanks so much, Sadiq, Brighton, Teko, for accepting to be a panelist. I believe to the rest of the team, this was insightful. We'll continue with the different discussions, so feel free to jump on some of those. Who knows, you could actually start a new business model or integrate some of this model that we are learning. Otherwise, thank you so much. See you on Tuesday. So be a friend to the Mighty Networks, and we're going to meet there. Otherwise, thank you so much.
Thank you, everybody. See you on Tuesday.
Okay, bye.
Bye.
Bye,
Thank you
guys.
so much. It was a really
Bye,
interesting
everyone.
class.
Thank you
Thank
very
you.
much.
See you
Bye.
on Tuesday.
See you on Tuesday.
Thank you very much. Remember from